Let's talk about the houses in Barranquilla. That August that we were looking for the most important building in our city seemed to me like they were made of cardboard, incapable of resisting a hurricane, not even a modest cyclone in Cuba. They explained to me that this area of the Caribbean was not on the route of those atmospheric phenomena.
An important product of Colombia. The bananas are picked and taken to Barranquilla's waterfront market.
I immediately liked the color of the earth with the beauty of the women, in contrast to the green of their matarratones. State Manuel Carrerá in 1980.
When you pass by this house and you stop to observe these particular houses, it seems that you see a cruise ship or a boat with a very aerodynamic figure. Joaquín is a lover of art and culture. He dedicated his life to saving life, but also to preserving our intangible memory of the Colombian Caribbean.
Good afternoon, Mr. Joaquin. How are you? I'm good, excellent. Glad to see you, Mr. Joaquin. I feel very privileged to be here in this beautiful house designed by the architect Manuel Carrera. That's how it is. It is a house that he designed for his family, right? And what makes this house stand out from the others are its curves on the front. Some people believe that it is shaped like a shark, but really we all know that this house is as the shape of a boat, a cruise ship. It starts from the largest to the smallest. Now, if you tell me you are a person who loves our culture, art values, details, and all of that feel that characterizes us as Barranquilleros in the Colombia Caribbean.
The house is linked to the history of Barranquilla.
We must remember that at the beginning of the 20th century, the only port that we had at the national level was the wharf of Puerto Colombia. Everything that entered and went to the interior of the country had to pass through Barranquilla. We can say that modernity entered Colombia through Barranquilla. And if we go back to the 30s and remember that Barranquilla was a pioneer, we had the first traffic light, aviation, airmail, soccer, that is, things that were a milestone was made first in Barranquilla than anywhere else. So in the 30s, we had the great privilege, Barranquilla in the history of humanity and in the history of transportation of being the first airline in America. Only 2 months apart in USA is that we were the second to have an airline in America. The first one was the Dutch KLM. That means that due to these places, Barranquilla is part of very important historical context. In the 30s, SCATA, the Colombo-German air transportation company, it was already a very powerful consolidated company, obviously, and they decided to make a site for them. And they wanted to break with all the canons of architecture at that time. So they decided to bring an architect from the outside, but who would speak Spanish. So in that way, they could understand each other with the master builders. They located a character who at that time was doing a master degree in the city of Colombia in the United States. That character is Manuel Carrera Machado. Carrera Machado is the son of a very powerful family of architects in Cuba, which before the revolution built almost all the island hospitals and the other important buildings. Carrera accepts and comes to build the Escacta building, which today is the Avianca building, which is located on Paseo Bolivar, which is the first modern construction or building in the city and surely one of the first in Colombia, in the modern art and style, of course, that was in that moment between the two periods of the Second and First World War. Then Carrera liked Barranquilla a lot, and they began to hire him a lot, not only for Barranquilla, but throughout the Colombia Caribbean, to do things. So he decides to build a house for himself, and we have the privilege of being in the house that Manuel Carrerá was built for him to live in. Let's remember that the first modern building in Colombia is the Garcia building, so did Carrerá. I have Aurelia photos from Escata from the 30s, where this house is already built and the Garcia building is on the base. There was nothing around this house. It was the first house, and up to the 61st Street, the neighborhood of El Prado reached here then, because the houses has all the canons of modern art architecture in the curbs and its design as an aerodynamic, and the slingshots in the cabs that raise to what it was. These people were very humanistic because the architects of that time were very educated, artists, and very technical. So, for example, the wind part of the house is very well located because the river is there. The wind blows here, and the house is cut in such a way that the wind enters all the rooms, because at that time there were no air conditioners. Back then, they were high ceilings and bioclimatics elements were used a lot. So I invite you to get to know the house and see the details. This is a monument in the city of Colombia, because in that context, what we are analyzing is very important. Remember that Carrera did very important things, not only in Colombia, but in Ciénega, the San Cristobal Hospital, the Tobixi Hotel in Cartagena, the theater in Cartagena, the Caribbean Hotel, which is an icon, the Santa Marta Theater too, which was recently restored, and the current government of Magdalena, which is beautiful with those two curved stairs. At the entrance was the Tayrona Hotel, which is also of Carrera. It has many buildings too in Havana, Miami, and other places. And architecture of Manuel Carrera was very characteristic. It stands out that is one recognizes the architect by his curves, his concept, because he always had something that he reflected in each of his works. And in modern, which is an international style that is not only architecture, it is also furniture, design, jewelry, fashion, and everything. Industrial design cars, etc. So this involves all the creative part of the art of the industry. Modern art defines itself very well and recognizes it very well too. Well, Mr. Joaquin, thank you very much for telling us a little about the history, about the origin of this house that we are now all going to know. Very grateful to you for opening the doors of your house, and because you are a person of highly values, what really characterizes us as Barranquilleros. I like that you value a lot the culture. You know a lot about art. Apart from that, you're a doctor.
And you know a lot about this topic.
We are defenders of heritage. Unfortunately, in the 70s and 80s, there was a group of architects in Barranquilla who preyed on the city, destroying many wonderful things and built meaningless buildings.
That they could do it elsewhere and not destroy the heritage.
Left must be preserved and highlighted. If Barranquilla had the thinking of preserving everything or saving everything regarding El Prado, we would have one of the most beautiful neighborhoods in the world.
So you have to keep what's left.
So now we are going to visit the house. Thank you very much. They are gone.
I would like to thank the family of the architect Carlos Bell Lemus, who inspired us to make a video about this house in Barranquilla, Colombia. Carlos was a great teacher and friend, and he will forever be in our hearts.